Hello everyone, welcome to the 10th KK chess series. Today we're going to continue with position advantage by looking at two games. First, let's look at games that in the previous class I said I would mention. White plays the king pawn, black plays the king pawn too. White plays the Italy and black plays the two knights defense. Now white plays knight g5. This is called the fried liver attack. It disobeys the law of trying not to move one piece twice at the opening, because at this specific position, black does not have a very effective way of stopping this threat on f7. Black plays bishop c5. As I said before, not a very accurate move. White gets greedy and wants to take material advantage, knight f7. Black plays bishop to f2, great sacrifice. If white captures it, which is not the best line, black captures the pawn. We see that for white, it has moved its knight multiple times, already 3 times to get to f7, and it has to move it 4 times to capture one of black's heavy pieces. This knight, for the first few moves, it is not really doing anything. So it is sort of like wasting time and not putting its pieces to its best positions, not activating them. However, for black, it played for its bishop. For its bishop, it played bishop to c5, then bishop to f2. It sacrificed its black bishop to lure the white king out into a dangerous position. And for the knight, it played knight to f6 and knight to e4. Now it is a center knight, very strong, and attacking the white king, which is a stronger threat than white trying to capture one of black's rook. Let's continue. King f1, queen h4. Now we see that black has already activated its queen and posing a checkmate threat on white. Queen e2. Now black captures white's rook, taking some of the material advantage back. Now black castles. Firstly, it lets its rook escape the threat of being captured, and secondly, this rook is now activated when it is threatening the white king, now putting a pin on the white's knight. White wants to hold on to its knight. Black makes a successive of beautiful sacrifices and plays knight to d4. We see that from this position, black has activated nearly all of its pieces. This rook on h8 is here, threatening white's pieces. This knight came out and threatened the king, now is traded off with white's h1 rook. This bishop came out and lured the white king out. The black queen is now directly in fight. Black's white square bishop sacrificed itself for speed, and black's b8 knight is now in fight in the center. Now the a8 rook is not doing anything much, but it's prepared to come into battle when the f8 rook moves out of its square. However, when we look at white, white moved its knight 3 times to capture a pawn and put a fork on black's 2 pieces. But in the end, the knight only managed to capture one of the pawns and did not capture any one of black's heavy pieces. Furthermore, for the white bishop, it came out, captured a pawn, captured another bishop, and now is not really doing much. Although it is threatening the king, it is not enough to make up the position. White's queen is now out of the position and under threat. And we see that white's queenside pieces, these 3 pieces, are actually doing nothing. So in this position and in some of the previous positions, black's pieces are much more active than white's, and white's king is in great danger. Although, despite the fact that white is up some material. White plays this, trying to offer a draw, and black sacrifices its rook, denying the draw. White captures, black captures the bishop, and white gets greedy and captures a further knight. In this position, black can definitely capture one of white's pieces. The white king still in danger, and the rest of the two pieces still doing nothing. However, the most accurate move is rook to f8 to keep on attacking white's king, because there is a multiple move mate. Still, at the end, we see that black has used up all of its pieces into attack, and white still has 3 pieces at its home sitting and doing nothing. Black activated its pieces much quicker than white, and through sacrificing, lure white to waste a lot of moves and eventually manage to checkmate white's king. Let's look at another example. Over here, a similar opening where white plays a gambit called the Greco gambit. White plays c3, preparing to play d4 and take control of the center. Black plays knight f6. White takes over the center and come into this position. Now black and white have made the best moves up to now, and we see that black has taken one of white's pawn. Now black is up with material advantage. The best move for black is to actually take the knight with its bishop and play d5 immediately. This move attacks this bishop, protects its knight, and we see that black is ready to castle at any time. In this position, generally, white is down a pawn for nothing, except that it is a slight bit faster in developing its pieces, and it has the double bishop advantage, which is not that much of an advantage in this position. Now the engine's opinion is that black is slightly better. However, if black is greedy and it says that it wants to take the knight with knight, when white recaptures, it takes this pawn, threatening to capture white's rook. Now white cannot simply just move its rook away. Then black will play d5 and then castle, moving its king to a safer position. The best move for white now in this position is actually to keep on sacrificing its pieces. Bishop to a3. This bishop is like a seatbelt controlling black's king over here. Now that the black king cannot castle, it does not even have a square to move. In the next move, white threatens to play queen e2 or rook e1 to check the king, and the king has nowhere to escape. We see that in this position, white's pieces are well developed, its king is very safe, and it has 2 very threatening bishops aiming at the king side. This rook is ready to come to this e-file and attack the king, so as the queen. This knight on f3 is ready to jump to e5 or g5 and attacking black. Now the best move for black is to play d5, preparing to block this e-file threat with its bishop, attacking white's bishop, and providing square for the king to escape. White plays bishop to b5. This diagonal is also very frightening. Now, black really has nothing to do but to keep on getting greedy and take another rook. Now, white must recapture this bishop immediately, or else it would let the king away. Like this. White should play rook to e1. This is a check, and when black plays bishop e6, white can choose to play knight to e5. This is adding another threat to this c6 knight. And black has really no way to hold right now. Black can play bishop to b2, luring white to recapture. When white captures, black can simply castle and put its king to safety. However, white declines, and black must move away for the king to escape. And black must make way for the king to escape. White captures this knight, black recaptures, white captures, black king moves away. White can play queen to g4, continue to attack. If black captures the queen, then we have a 1-move mate on e7. So, black has nowhere to escape. it can give up its queen. If white simply captures, black captures the queen. There is no checkmate on e7 anymore because black can capture this bishop. So white has to make an intermediate move, queen to h4 check. When black king moves its king away, white captures the queen. Black captures it back. Now we see that white is actually up in the material. Let's cancel off these two rooks, cancel off these two bishops, and we have a queen versus rook and bishop. We know that the queen is worth 9 or 10 points, and the rook and bishop was worth 8 points in total. Let's not count the pawns for this moment, and we see that white is up material. All of white's pieces are well developed. This bishop on c5 is threatening on the black squares. White's king on g1 is very safe. This rook on e1 is controlling the e file, ready to come to e7, and the white queen is the most active piece of all. However, for black, this black bishop is doing nothing. This white bishop is, yes, let's count it active. It's protecting the black king, and these two rooks are actually doing nothing. Now let's just admire the next few moves. Queen g5, attacking the g7 and d5 pawn at the same time. Rook g8, protecting one of the pawns. Queen d5, capturing one pawn and threatening the rook. Rook b8, queen f7, capturing another pawn and forking two pieces. Rook d8, queen g7. And we see that white has taken 3 pawns already, so now white is up a lot of material advantage. And black's king, although it's surrounded by black's pieces and is relatively safe at the moment, the black pieces are restricted to protect its king and it cannot fully come into battle. So this is one of the downsides for this king to be not protected by pawns like white. So black got really greedy in this position by capturing white's pieces like this, and white simply let black capture its pieces, and in exchange for quickly developing its pieces and putting them into active places. After that, black has really nothing to do. I hope these two examples help you better understand position advantage, and this will be it for this series.